By the seventh day, the house felt haunted. Evan and I moved around each other like ghosts, never speaking, never touching. He stayed locked in the guest room. I stopped trying to knock. There was nothing left to say until the truth arrived in black and white. Every afternoon, I stood by the window waiting for the mail truck like my life depended on it, because it did. When it finally pulled up, my heart slammed so hard into my chest I thought I might pass out. I saw the white envelope in the mailman's hand, Clink logo in the corner, my name printed neatly on the front. I ran outside barefoot, not caring about the cold concrete, not caring that I was still in pajamas. I grabbed the envelope before it even made it into the mailbox. This was it. 7 days of hell were about to end. I pressed the envelope to my chest and felt my heart pounding against it. Vindication, that was all I could think about. Proof that I wasn't a liar. Proof that Evan was wrong. I called Jeff. I have it, I said, my voice shaking with hope. The results are here. He told me to wait for him. He wanted to be there when I opened it. I agreed. I wanted witnesses. I wanted no room for doubt. Then I went to the guest room door. Evan, I said, knocking. The results are here. I'm out. You're going to see this with your own eyes. Silence. I knocked again harder. I'm not going away. This affects both of us. Finally, the lock clicked. Evan opened the door and walked past me without a word, sitting down at the kitchen table with his arms crossed. He looked thinner, exhausted, hollow. I placed the envelope between us. Neither of us touched it. We just stared at it like it might explode. Jeff arrived minutes later. His eyes flicked from my face to the envelope and back again. You look nervous. You okay? He asked quietly. I'm ready, I said, and I'm in it. He pulled out a chair and sat closer to me than to Evan. When he reached across the table and covered my hand with his palm was warm against my cold fingers. Whatever happens, he said softly, I'm here. Evan's gaze snapped to our hands. Seriously? He scoffed. Should I even bother reading the results? I pulled my hand away and stood up, my chair scraping loudly against the floor. Don't twist this, I snapped. He's the only person who's been kind to me while you've treated me like garbage. Evan rolled his eyes. Just open it. My fingers trembled as I picked up the envelope. It felt heavier than it should, like the weight of my entire marriage pressed in paper. I tore it open. I read the results once, then again, then a third time. My vision blurred, the room tilted. No, I whispered. This isn't right. What does it say? Evan demanded. Read it. My throat closed. It says you're not the father. The words fell into the room like a bomb, and nothing would ever be the same again. By the fourth day, I barely recognized myself. I hadn't showered. I hadn't changed clothes. I existed in a fog of exhaustion and dread, moving only when my body absolutely demanded it. Evan and I lived in the same house, but we might as well have been strangers. He slept in the guest room, left before I woke up, came home after I went to bed. The only proof he was still there was the coffee mug in the sink every morning and the quiet click of the guest room door at night. Sometimes I stood outside that door with my hand raised, ready to knock, ready to try again, ready to beg, but I never did. What was the point when he had already decided who I was? In the afternoon of the fourth day, there was a knock at the door. I almost didn't answer it. But when I opened it, Jeff was standing on my porch holding a bag of takeout. His expression softened when he saw me. Figured you weren't eating, he said gently. I must have looked awful, tangled hair, swollen eyes, the same sweatpants I'd slept in. But he didn't comment. He didn't stare. He just waited patiently for me to let him in. I sat at the kitchen table while he unpacked containers of food. The smell alone made my stomach twist, but I forced myself to take a bite when he handed me a fork. He didn't ask questions. He didn't demand explanations or proof. He didn't look at me like I was something dirty or broken. He talked about stupid, normal things, a movie he'd watched, a coworker who microwaved fish every day, a neighbor's dog that barked at 3 a.m. For the first time in days, the silence didn't feel like an accusation. And when I finally broke down, when the tears came hard and ugly, he didn't pull away. He moved his chair closer and put an arm around my shoulders, steady and warm. I didn't do anything wrong, I sobbed. I swear I haven't been with anyone else. I don't know how this happened. He rubbed slow circles on my back. I believe you, he said quietly. Anyone who knows you knows you're not that kind of person. The word shattered something inside me. After days of being treated like a criminal, someone finally believed me without conditions. Jeff stayed for hours. He washed the dishes. Made sure his number was saved in my phone. Told me to call him anytime, day or night, if things got too heavy. When he finally left, he hugged me at the door. And as I watched his car disappear down the street, something unfamiliar stirred in my chest. Hope. The rest of the week crawled by. Evan's family continued sending messages. Carrie begged me to leave. Evan avoided me completely. And through all of it, Jeff checked on me every single day, brought food, asked how I was holding up. Reminded me that what Evan did was wrong. I held on because the results were coming. This was my proof, my vindication. But when the envelope finally arrived, it didn't save me. It made everything worse. The party ended without goodbyes. People didn't hug me. They didn't look me in the eyes. One by one, they grabbed their coats and slipped out the front door like they were leaving a crime scene. Laughter from earlier felt like it had happened in another lifetime. My parents were the last to go. My father pulled me into a hug so tight it hurt and whispered in my ear, say the word and I'll end him. I shook my head. Still believed this was a misunderstanding. It had to be. When the door finally closed, the house went quiet. Too quiet. I turned around, ready to beg Evan to talk to me, to listen, but he was already walking down the hallway toward the bedroom. No words, no hesitation. Evan, I called after him. My voice came out small. Please just listen to me. I don't know how to explain this, but I've never been with anyone else. You're the only man I've been with. He stopped and laughed. It wasn't loud. It wasn't cruel. It was empty. Another explanation, he said coldly, for how you got pregnant by a man who can't make babies. He took a step closer. Flinched. The movement registered on his face just for a second. Guilt maybe, awareness of what he'd done, then it vanished, replaced by anger. Go on, he said. Enlighten me. I had nothing, no proof, no answers. Just my word, and it clearly meant nothing anymore. That's why we're doing a paternity test, I said. Science will prove it, and when it does, you're going to have to live with how you treated me tonight. Something flickered in his eyes, doubt. Fear. Fine, he said after a long pause. Tomorrow. The clinic waiting room felt like a bus stop for strangers. Evan sat 4 chairs away from me, arms crossed, jaw clenched so tight I could see the muscle jumping. Every few minutes, he glanced at me like the sight of me made him sick. I wanted to scream, to force him to look at me and remember who I was. Instead, I stared at the wall and folded my hands in my lap, counting breaths. The nurse called my name first. Evan refused to come into the room. When she drew my blood, she told me it would take 7 to 10 business days. 7 to 10 days of this hell. The messages started on day 2. His mother went first. Always knew you were like this. His sister followed. You disgust me. I hope you lose that baby. Then came aunts, cousins, paragraphs of hatred, accusations, wishes of harm. Someone even sent a photo of me from the party mid-fall with the caption, "Cheaters always get what they deserve." I read them all until my phone blurred with tears. Then I turned it off. Carrie found me still in bed that afternoon. She climbed in beside me and held me like we were kids again. "You need to leave him," she whispered. "He hit you." Everyone said the same thing, but I couldn't leave yet because the test would prove I was innocent. It had to. That night, I lay awake with my hand on my stomach, trying to feel something: connection, hope, love. Instead, doubt crept in. What if Evan was right? What if the vasectomy made this impossible? I knew I hadn't cheated. For the first time, I was terrified that science might not be on my side. For a moment, I couldn't move. I was on the floor, half tangled in wrapping paper and broken glass, staring up at Evan like my brain had been unplugged from reality. My cheek burned so badly it felt like someone had pressed a red-hot pan against my skin. The room spun, my ears rang, I tasted blood. 40 people stood frozen, watching. Evan's face had twisted into something I didn't recognize, something dark and furious. His chest rose and felt like he was barely holding himself together, his hands clenched into fists at his sides. "You cheating whore!" he screamed. The word hit harder than the slap. I tried to speak, but nothing came out. My mouth opened and closed uselessly while my brain scrambled to understand what was happening. This had been a celebration. Seconds ago, people were cheering, smiling, crying happy tears. Now no one was breathing. "What are you talking about?" I finally managed, my voice shaking so badly it didn't sound like my own. "Evan, I would never," he laughed. But it wasn't laughter. It sounded like something snapping under pressure. "Stop lying," he yelled, veins bulging in his neck. "You really thought you could pass off someone else's baby as mine?" The words slammed into me. "I haven't cheated on you," I said desperately. "Not once." "I would never do that to you." He stepped closer, towering over me. "You can't be pregnant with my baby, Marina." My heart dropped. "I had a vasectomy 4 years ago before we even got married." The room seemed to tilt. 4 years, that meant every tear I'd cried over negative tests. Every night I'd wondered what was wrong with my body. Every moment I blamed myself. He'd known. He'd known the entire time it was impossible. "So whose is it?" he demanded, turning toward the room like a prosecutor presenting evidence. "Who have you been sleeping with? How long has it been going on?" No one spoke. My mother covered her mouth, tears streaming down her face. My father looked like he was about to lunge forward, but his legs wouldn't move. The silence was suffocating. Then hands touched my shoulders, gentle, steady. I looked up to see Jeff kneeling beside me, his face pale with shock. He helped me sit up, brushing glass from my dress. "What the hell is wrong with you?" Jeff snapped, his voice shaking with rage. "You just hit your pregnant wife in front of everyone." He stood and placed himself between Evan and me like a shield. Evan paced like a caged animal. 2 years, he shouted. 2 years I'll let you make me feel guilty for not giving you a child, and this whole time you were spreading your legs for someone else. He threw his arms wide, addressing the room. Look at her, standing there pretending to be confused. She knows exactly what she did. My face stung, my heart shattered. In Evan's mind, the math was simple. He couldn't have children, so I must have cheated. "I want a paternity test," I said suddenly, my voice cutting through the chaos. "I'll prove it." The room held its breath. "It'll take about a week," someone said quietly. 7 days. 7 days to prove I wasn't a liar. 7 days to save my marriage. But as people began grabbing their coats and leaving without a word, eyes down, mouths shut, I didn't realize the truth yet. Those 7 days wouldn't save me at all. They would destroy everything I had left. Thought this was going to be the happiest night of my life. For 2 long years, Evan and I had been trying to have a baby. 2 years of disappointment. 2 years of negative pregnancy tests stacked in the trash like proof that my body was failing me. Every month came with hope, and every month ended in quiet tears in the bathroom where no one could hear me. Then last month, my period didn't come. I didn't trust it at first. I took 1 test, then another. Then 3 more, all in one sitting, my hands shaking so badly I nearly dropped them. 5 tests. 5 identical results, 2 pink lines, clear, undeniable. I slid down onto the bathroom floor and cried so hard I could barely breathe. It wasn't fear, it wasn't doubt, it was relief. My sister Carrie stayed on the phone with me for almost an hour, talking me through it while I laughed and sobbed at the same time. "Don't just tell people casually," she said. "Make it special. Make it something your child will hear about someday." So I did. 7 weeks later, my house was full of people I loved. My parents stood near the food table. Carrie kept shooting me excited looks from across the room. Evan's parents had flown in from Arizona, and his younger brother Jeff had come early to help set up chairs and arrange gifts. Everything felt perfect. Evan moved through the room easily, charming everyone the way he always did. Smiling, laughing, shaking hands, being the man I had fallen in love with 6 years ago. I watched him from the kitchen doorway, my heart swelling so much it almost hurt. Tonight, I was about to change his life forever. Picked up my fork and tapped it gently against my wine glass. Conversations faded. Music softened. 40 faces turned toward me. My mother was already wiping her eyes, even though she didn't know why yet. Evan stepped beside me, his arms sliding comfortably around my waist. He looked at me with warm curiosity, completely unaware of what was coming. "Thank you all for being here," I said, my voice trembling just slightly. "Some of you traveled really far, and I promise it is worth it." I looked up at Evan and smiled. "We're having a baby." For a half second, my brain registered pure joy. The room erupted, screams, applause. My father clapped so hard it echoed. Carrie jumped up and down, yelling, "I knew it." People hugged each other, cried, laughed. The air felt electric, thick with love and celebration. I turned to Evan, expecting him to lift me up or kiss me or do something straight out of a movie. But he didn't. His arms slipped away from my waist, his face drained of color. He stood frozen, staring at me like I just said something horrifying instead of wonderful. "Evan," I whispered, reaching for him. "Aren't you happy?" That's when everything shattered. His hand struck my face so hard I flew backward into the gift table, glass shattering beneath me as pain exploded across my cheek. The music kept playing for 3 seconds, then someone shut it off. And in that sudden silence, lying on the floor with my ear ringing and my face burning, I realized something terrible. the man standing over me was no longer my husband. And whatever this night was about to become, it was going to destroy everything I thought I knew. Jeff stood in the doorway like he'd been waiting for us. Not nervous, not confused, calm, almost peaceful. Evan grabbed him by the front of his shirt and shoved him backward into the apartment, slaying him against the wall. "Tell me the truth," he growled. "Tell me what you did to my wife." Jeff didn't fight back. He didn't raise his hands, didn't deny anything. His eyes slid past Evan and locked onto me instead, and something in that look made my skin crawl. Hunger, possession, like I was something he already owned. "Marina," he said softly. Hearing my name in his mouth made me feel sick. "I've been waiting so long to finally tell you everything." My chest tight. I wanted to run. I wanted to scream, but I couldn't move. Evan shoved him harder. "Start talking, now." Jeff exhaled slowly, almost relieved. "I'm not sorry," he said. "Not even a little." Those words hit me harder than the test results ever had. "What I did," Jeff continued, his voice steady, "was the best decision I've ever made." Evan's fist slammed into the wall beside his head. "You sick piece of garbage." Jeff didn't flinch. "Having the spare key gave me so much power," he said calmly. "Access to your house, your life." His eyes flicked to me. "Your wife." I felt my stomach turn. That night, Jeff went on, I knew exactly what I was doing. "I've been paying attention for months. Marina talked about wanting a baby at every family dinner, every holiday. She was breaking and you didn't even notice." Evan froze. "You got a vasectomy and never told her," Jeff said. "You let her believe something was wrong with her. When I realized that, I knew what I had to do." My knees nearly buckled. "I waited for the perfect night," Jeff said. "Blackout curtains, you sleep after poker night." I slipped in around 3 in the morning, woke her the way a husband would. Tears streamed down my face as he spoke like he was describing a romantic memory. "You were so sweet," he said almost fondly. "So eager. When you asked if I was in the mood, I almost told you the truth. But I just hummed and let you believe what you wanted." Evan hit him hard. Jeff's head snapped to the side, blood spilling from his mouth. He laughed through it. "That baby," he said, spitting blood onto the floor, "is mine, and nothing you do will change that." I slid down the wall, shaking. Everything I thought was kindness had been a lie, and the worst part, he wasn't done talking. And didn't answer his phone. I called once. Straight to voicemail. Again, voicemail. Again. Each unanswered ring tightened the panic in my chest. He had blocked me, or worse, decided I wasn't worth listening to anymore. "He's staying with Felix," I told Carrie, already grabbing my keys. "She tried to stop me, told me I should wait. Told me I needed proof before accusing Evan's brother of something so horrifying." But waiting felt impossible. Every second that passed was another second Evan believed I was a liar, and another second Jeff got away with what he'd done. I drove like I didn't care if I made it there alive. The parking lot was almost full. Felix's apartment was on the 3rd floor. I took the stairs 2 at a time and pounded on the door until my knuckles ached. "Evan," I yelled, "please open the door. I figured it out." Silence, then footsteps. The door opened and Evan stood there looking like someone who hadn't slept in days. His eyes were red, his clothes wrinkled. He looked hollow. "Go away," he said flatly. "I don't want to hear any more lies." I pushed past him into the apartment. "It wasn't me," I said, turning to face him. "I didn't cheat on you, I swear, but someone did get me pregnant." He stared at me like I'd lost my mind. I told him everything. The night I woke up in the dark. The silence, the hum instead of words, the way nothing felt quite right, but I ignored it because I wanted a baby so badly. As I spoke, I watched his anger shift. It wasn't aimed at me anymore. "Who has a key to our house?" I asked quietly. He froze. "Besides us," I continued. "Who can get in without breaking anything?" His hands curled into fists. "Jeff," he whispered. I nodded. Tears streamed down my face. He knew. That's why he was never surprised. That's why he believed me so easily. He was there when I opened the results, holding my hand, watching my life fall apart. Evan didn't speak. He grabbed his jacket and said only 2 words. "Get in." The drive to Jeff's apartment was silent. Evan's knuckles were white on the steering wheel. I didn't know what he was going to do, and part of me was terrified to find out. Jeff opened the door like he'd been expecting us. No shock, no confusion, just a calm smile. And in that moment I knew, whatever he was about to say next was going to change everything forever. He stood up so fast my chair scraped loudly across the kitchen floor. "No," I said, backing away. "That's not possible. I would have known. I would have felt something was wrong." But even as the words left my mouth, doubt crept in like a slow poison. Carrie didn't argue. She didn't raise her voice. She just watched me with that same careful expression, like she was afraid I might break. "You said it was completely dark," she said gently. "You said he never spoke. And you said his touch felt different?" I shook my head. "People act different when they're half asleep. Evan works long hours. He's exhausted sometimes." But my voice was shaking, because the truth was that night it felt different, rougher, faster. It was familiar. I had brushed it off because I wanted a baby so badly I didn't question anything. I told myself love didn't always look the same. That intimacy didn't always have to be soft to be real. But now, standing there in the daylight, the memory twisted into something ugly. Carrie stood up and stepped closer. "Marina," she said quietly, "if it wasn't Evan, then someone came into your house while you were sleeping." My chest tightened. Couldn't breathe. "That means," my voice cracked. "That means someone was in my bed and I didn't know." Carrie wrapped her arms around me as my legs gave out. I grabbed onto her like she was the only solid thing left in the world. "Think," she whispered. "Who has access to your house?" I shook my head wildly. "No one, just us." She pulled back slightly and looked me straight in the eyes. "Who has a key?" The answer hit me so hard it felt physical. Jeff. Evan had given him a spare key 2 years ago when we went on vacation. To water the plants. We never asked for it back. My mind started racing through the past week. Jeff showing up uninvited. Jeff being so certain I hadn't cheated. Jeff sitting close, touching my knee, holding my hand when I read the results. Jeff telling me maybe my marriage falling apart was for the best. "No," I whispered. "Not Jeff. He wouldn't." But the pieces kept snapping into place. He was never surprised. Not once. Carrie swallowed. "We need to be sure," she said. "Another test. One that compares the baby's DNA to Jeff's." My hands were shaking so badly I had to sit down. "And if it's him," I whispered. "What if Evan's own brother did this to me?" The realization crashed over me all at once. That night wasn't Evan. Someone came into my bedroom in the dark. Someone used my body while I thought I was with my husband. And the man who had been comforting me all week had known the truth the entire time. I grabbed my phone. Evan needed to hear this. Right now. Didn't sleep that night. I lay on the kitchen floor long after Evan left, staring at the ceiling while my mind replayed everything over and over again. The slap, the test, the words "you're not the father." None of it made sense. Couldn't make sense because I knew I hadn't cheated. I knew it the way you know your own name. Sometime before sunrise, I called Carrie. She answered on the first ring like she'd been waiting by the phone. The results came back, I whispered. Evan's not the father. She was at my door within the hour. I handed her the paper without a word. She read it once, then again. Her face drained of color as she set it down on the table. "Sit," she said quietly. "We need to talk." We sat at the same kitchen table where everything had fallen apart the night before. Carrie folded her hands in front of her, steady in a way I wasn't. "I need you to walk me through something," she said. "Not the party, not Evan, the conception. When do you think it happened?" I stared at her. "Why does that matter? The test already. Just answer me," she said gently. "When?" I closed my eyes and tried to think. "I don't know exactly. Evan and I were trying all the time. Ovulation tracking, schedules, it could have been any of those nights." Carrie shook her head. "You're about 11 weeks along. That means conception was roughly 9 or 10 weeks ago." She leaned forward. "Was there any night around then that felt different?" I almost said no, but something stirred in the back of my mind. A memory I hadn't examined closely because I never had a reason to. "There was one night," I said slowly. "I woke up because Evan was shaking me gently, then I felt him kissing my neck." Carrie didn't interrupt. "It was completely dark," I continued. "We have blackout curtains, I couldn't see anything." I asked if he was in the mood and he just hummed, like yes. My chest felt tight. "He didn't say anything else," I added. "Usually Evan talks," he whispers, asks if I'm okay. That night, nothing. Just the hum. Carrie's voice was calm, but her eyes were sharp. "What happened after?" I was half asleep. I wanted a baby so badly I didn't question it. When it was over, he rolled away. "Thought he went back to sleep?" I opened my eyes. Carrie was staring at me like she was trying not to panic. "Marina," she said carefully, "I need to ask you something and I need you to really think before you answer." My stomach dropped. "Okay," she reached across the table and took my hands. Her fingers were cold. "That night," she said, "the darkness, the silence, the fact that he never spoke." She squeezed my hands. "How do you know it was Evan?" I jerked back. "What kind of question is that? Of course it was him. I was in my bed, in my house." "But you said it was pitch black," she replied softly, "and he never spoke, not once." My heart started pounding. "How do you know?" I opened my mouth to answer and realized I didn't have one. And in that moment, the memory shifted. The darkness didn't feel comforting anymore. It felt wrong.